should be making a video. Looks like it's working. So anyway, graph physics presentation and such. Yeah. Sorry, it's a lot of stuff. My stuff did get here. The pod made it. So unpacking and all that crap. Very time consuming, rearranging everything. But, it's keeping me busy, which is, good, because I don't have enough time to pay attention to the fact that I'm not in my house anymore, and that I don't like it. So tough. But anyway, so far so good, and I just got a ton of stuff to figure out where to put it all. So anyway, physics, out of practice. So I just read some comments, and I do have a couple of subjects, but we'll see what comes up. So Michael Bolton starts off just horrible. What's your thoughts on native rights in Alaska? I'll answer this part of the question. The superficial answer, but clearly just too stupid. What? You're just going to insult me by saying, "Oh, DraftScience, the subject is physics," and you're just going to sit there and kind of ignore that and just be an asshole? What? But anyway, I'm not a big fan of native culture. I don't have any respect for primitive tribes of any kind. They're all brutal and stupid and moronic. They do stupid things, cruel, torture animals, all that kind of stuff. So fuck them. Basically, that's my opinion. But fuck civilization too. Fuck human beings. I don't like human beings, especially human beings who can't stay on the fucking subject. So anyway, somebody says irrelevant. He says so. Irrelevant isn't important. No, that's not like a waste of time being irrelevant. Yeah, it is a waste of time, fucker. So, yeah. Thanks, but no thank you. Keep it up, and I'll block you. Alright, DS. 1 year prior. So this is not a quote, again. These assholes will never quote me. They just misparaphrase me. Lensing is false. Yes, that part's correct. But not for this stupid reason. Because it would make stars disappear. Well, it is a fact that they would actually disappear for solar lensing. The little star will disappear, go backwards, go forwards, and then move. That's just a fact. Because for someone having the light ray come this way, the ray would be redirected this other way. So again, I never said this. This isn't a quote. Just crap. So obviously, though, lensing does mean these things. It means that if you're going to see things that you couldn't see, you're also not going to see things you would have seen. That's the consequence of lensing. DS, 1 year later, you can't make it change how many photons are hitting you. That's right, you're changing where they're coming from, their direction. That's right, idiot. For every photon bent away from you, there's another bent towards you. So the two statements are not in any way inconsistent. It's a nothing argument. Again, what is this crap? People can't make an argument to save your lives. You really probably can't. And then Michael chimes in, so what? Well, if he was right, if he was making some point of hypocrisy, it might mean something. O.J. Simpson's defense team had several inconsistencies too. They didn't have several. Everything they said was complete shit. Made up shit. And we all know AJ didn't do it, whatever that means. Even though we all know Nicole had it coming. Whatever. I don't know what you're saying. But yes, maybe you should go somewhere else. So anyway, we'll delete both those comments. We'll delete the first comment because it was a piece of shit. All right, Bob the Fly. There should be more tests of this imaging technique to use for a comparison. Ah, good. So he concedes it's a reasonable argument to make. Let's see what other things this technique has made visible. Let's see what other invisible things it has made visible. If they can get a good composite image of Jupiter or Pluto, well, it probably can't really be used for that. And so on, using this technique, it would serve to validate or invalidate the image of the black hole. Well, that's quite correct. So Michael says, congratulations, you're stupid. No, it was a good point, Michael, so I'm going to just block you now because you're clearly just a troll. All right. Superior Mind finds computer generated silhouette, interpreted as the face of God. Oh, so he's doing some poetry, proving some arbitrary religion about singularities where physics breaks down. Obviously, it doesn't prove anything. If it was an actual picture of an actual black hole, it might mean something. But again, the size of this thing is huge. Black holes are supposed to be small. You can fit more than our solar system inside of that donut hole of the image. So what is that telling you? Oh, it's telling you it might not be a black hole. It might be just a big fucking heavy thing. The zealots lose their minds, and it's sure to stimulate some new book magazine sales. Well, clearly, I don't know if they're going to sell any books on this one, but it's clearly for the masses to sell them the mystique of we have magical physics. So the Piro chimes in. Now it'd be nice if the Piro, he's supposed to be watching, I guess, my Amendum videos again, but I don't know if he's watching these. But apparently he commented, so he must be. But why doesn't he answer my questions? So Piro, if you're watching this video, why don't you answer some of my simple questions? So why in photons is the pattern bar-like instead of a nice gradual on-off pattern like with electrons? The electron pattern is very smooth. The photon pattern not smooth at all. Why? Why the two patterns? Where did that come from? What's the quantum mechanic explanation for the envelope of the single slit pattern? What else can you ask about the photon one? Why, when there's a diffraction grating, their actual images are sent to the different locations? They're images. How does wave theory explain images, complete images? So if I shoot a laser beam and I got little round circles, if I shoot Tinkerbell through an image of Tinkerbell, I'll get 6 or 7 Tinkerbells. How is that consistent with wave interference? Now, on the interferometer, what's your claim? Does a single photon split in two and take both paths? Or do two different photons take both paths and then interfere with each other later? And why don't you explain how, if I use a half-silvered mirror as a beam splitter, how is it not possible that the light ends up being diverged in one path and not diverged in the other path? So why don't you answer some of my questions, if you think quantum mechanics is so smart? Alright, so here's one of his stupid comments. Your brain is made out of microtubules, but it's just nonsense. Microtubules are physical structures. They have nothing in common with neurons. There's absolutely no evidence they function like neurons, that they transmit anything called information. They transfer signals in the sense of the crudest sense. The chemicals travel along them. They're not electrical. They're not fast. Nothing like as fast as a neuron. And he says neurons have an abnormally high number of them. Neurons are abnormally large cells, so they have an abnormally high number of everything. Mitochondria, everything. Some of the neurons in your body are, 6 feet tall, 6 feet long. So it doesn't mean anything. It's a meaningless pile of nothing. It's just gibberish. Absolutely no evidence our brain is being controlled by microtubules, or that microtubules provide neurological intelligence to cellular organisms. It's just, you're making it up. There's no evidence of any intelligent behavior produced by microtubules. You're just making it up. Alright, another Piro comment. Quantum has predicted a lot of things. So I just made the point that they keep saying it without demonstrating anything predicted by quantum mechanics or quantum math. The math doesn't predict anything we don't already know. Again, I will make a clear assertion. Why don't you explain how I'm wrong? All mathematical formulas are the product of what we already know. They're formalizations of known things. They do not create new knowledge. Alright. Has predicted a lot of things in optics and electronics. So again, just more vague references to nothing. No predictions. They predict what we already know. Just like I can predict the odds of you rolling a 6 with a single die. I can predict that without quantum mechanics because I've seen it. Alright. Not to mention the tunneling microscope. So again, another nothing reference. The tunneling microscope has nothing to do with any tunneling effect. It's just a word they used because they don't understand. See, because they don't understand physics, that is, they don't understand how electrons work. So they think it's impossible for electrons to do certain things because their theory doesn't allow it. So then they have to come up with a bizarre explanation for why something happens. Now, if you understand that electrons are in uneven potentials, that is, in every electron is in a certain potential in an individual atom, and some of them are in high potentials and some of them are in low potentials. And the ones in high potentials are capable of doing certain things that the ones in low potentials aren't capable of doing. So you change the potential of an atom, you're going to change the potential of the electrons. And then you don't need any tunneling theory to explain why certain electrons are capable of doing something and other electrons aren't. It's because when they're in an atom, they're not all equal. When they're in an atom, they're in different positions, and those positions dictate their capacity. So the fact that you don't understand basic electronics, I mean, the function of electromagnetism and electrodynamics, the interaction between photons and electrons, means that's your problem. So then you have to use some silly word like tunneling because you think something special is happening. Well, it's because you have a misunderstanding. But there's nothing miraculous about the tunneling microscope. All it's doing is measuring electrical potential. There's nothing quantum needed to understand that atoms at different distances, you can't feel the charge of the atom at a distance. It's weaker. What's so special about that? Absolutely nothing. It's hardly, you don't need any quantum mechanic gobbledygook to explain the effect or to explain the phenomenon. It's just nonsense. So again, just mush references. No evidence of any randomness or spooky action. Just vague, just imply. Let's just imply the existence of it when there's no need to imply that existence. Alright, so bouncing for magnetism has to be 10 to 40 times faster. Well, I don't know what that means. Basically breaking the speed of light. Absolutely idiotic. My God, how are you so fucking stupid? Completely incomprehensible comment. So bouncing for magnetism has to be 10 to the 40th power times faster. Where have I ever... I mean, anybody who's watched these videos knows I I strictly do believe in the constancy of the speed of light. I don't believe anything can ever travel faster than the speed of light, because it's the speed of all the forces. So where would I imply any necessity for anything so stupid as that? You liar. Jack the liar. Again, no quote of anything I said that he's refuting. He just lies, puts words in my mouth, and says I said them. I didn't say them. Liar. Idiot. Well, gee, great comment. So that's the best you can do. So you can't make any kind of argument at all. So if I said there was a God who had 7 legs and 14 eyes or something, the best you could do is just say idiot. You couldn't make some kind of explanation for why I was wrong. Why I just made that up, you could say, or something. Nothing. Idiot. Fuck you. God. It's just lame. That's all I can say to that. Lame answer. Lame response. Zero content in your response. It's weak and cowardly. Because you didn't back it up with anything. Highway? I don't know. HWY. I don't know what that means. Genuine question. Can you explain what a field is? A field is the byproduct of force. Force, everything is constantly bombarded by force, and it reflects some of that force, and it transmits some of that force, and it has a thermal equilibrium. So there's a certain amount of force it interacts with, but in the end, it's charged by the force, and once it establishes its potential, it basically becomes at equilibrium, so it reflects as much force essentially. It emits as much force as it absorbs. So everything is creating a field, because everything's being hit by a field, but the field is made of something, and it's made of little bits of energy traveling the speed of light. So you're constantly being hit by energy in the form of gravity, energy in the form of light, energy in the form of the whole electromagnetic spectrum. And when that force is segregated, that is electron force versus proton force, that's called magnetism. When that force is at a frequency, it's called the electromagnetic spectrum, or photons. And when it's random, quote unquote, apparent, when it has apparent randomness, and it doesn't have, the photons are of too short volume, we can't see it, can't tune it in on a radio, can't receive it in any way, and it's what we call gravity. But fields are made of force. Without the force, there's no field. But the field is, you can't escape it. Everything in the universe fundamentally can't escape energy. It's constantly hitting you, and you're constantly reflecting and transmitting it. Okay. Marco Stork. Something like that. This is by far the best roasting video I've ever seen, and give you a hat down, because this man, Theora Apopopoulos, or Ken Wheeler, or whatever he calls his channel, is full of BS, and all he talks is some words that sound smart. Well, I'm sorry, simplex doesn't sound very smart. Sounds kind of childish, but anyway. And hyperboloid certainly sounds kind of faggoty, but whatever. But totally in wrong and unconnected context. If he was to explain his theories about magnetism, well, he's tried to explain them, but they all come out like, again, an absence of magnitude. So magnetism is when the counter space loses magnitude. Yeah, right. What the fuck? Then it could be said in simplest ways for the majority of people to understand. Or he could draw a picture of it, which he can't do. He just ends up drawing a bunch of swirly shit. but doesn't explain what the fuck's swirling and how the fuck it swirls. What makes it swirl? How does it do it? See, everybody thinks that, again, this gets to the field line thing. I was listening to a Michio Kaku book, and, an audio book. And, again, the field line thing gets so muddled because people think the lines are the field lines that Faraday was talking about. And what Faraday was really talking about was that the force is radial, that it comes out of the object like gravity does, in a symmetrical way. And it's the intensity of that field at these different locations. Of course, it would duplicate the shape or essentially the shape of the object producing it, because it's all equally radiant. It's radiating a pressure like a sun. It's radiating light. And the difference is that the pressure is either attractive or repulsive, or low pressure, high pressure, where in gravity it's only one direction. And that's the only difference. But he was basically saying, look, it's just like gravity, except it has these two functions. But those are the real lines of force, in the sense that that's the force. The force is emanating from it as rays of force. It can certainly be analogized to rays and be perfectly accurate. Perfectly. Alright, if he was to explain his theories about magnetism, then it could be said in simpler ways for the majority of people to understand. Well, like I said, draw a picture of it where you explain why tornadoes are being created. How does it create tornadoes? All he is and all he does is scramble words and sentences from various authors. He certainly does steal a bunch of just jargon. Counter space. The one I really find insanely annoying is when they get away with talking about dielectricity. There's no such thing as dielectricity. There's a dielectric, which is a form of insulator. There's no such thing as a dielectricity. Making his own theory. I just don't believe people buy this crap of nonsense. Well, people are really stupid, unfortunately. P.S. You did this video on most serious, funny way that's really generous and unintentionally funny. Yes, I am occasionally humorous without purpose. Yes. And is that thing you are vaping just tobacco? Yes, that's what it is. It's not really tobacco, it's just nicotine, but yes. Alright. It's the opposite to religion, you absolute fool. Oh, this is Wallace Thornhill. Well, no, it really isn't the opposite of religion. Okay, when you're totally stuck on, primitive notions of reality, that's sort of the definition of religion, is sticking with old voodoo notions of reality, witch doctor nonsense. It's clearly pseudoscience. The very idea of this wacky nonsense that we have to explain the events of human history with Venus moving around and creating Grand Canyons or something. It's just preposterous gibberish. It's all religion, idiot. Alright, I'm not sure what Mathis has said. I mean, just listen to the way they talk about the human body and all the mysticism. They have lots of speakers who are just full of mysticism and mush. It's just clearly just religion. Thunderbolts. That's all it is. It's a religion. It's like it's like Dianetics or something. Just as wacky. It's a volcano god bullshit. Not sure what Mathis has said about Jews. Well, that's, you really should check it out, because he has a real obsession with the subject. But dismissing it as wacky and conspiracy is on par with saying you have a complex. I really don't think so. I mean, it's clearly he thinks Stephen Hawking was replaced by a fake guy for 15 years who somehow perfectly imitated having ALS. Now, if that isn't so bold a statement, right? I mean, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence kind of thing. I mean, clearly that's a wacky conspiracy theory. I mean, those words fit. Wacky conspiracy. They fit. For any idiot who thinks somebody had some cause to have an actor pretend to have ALS so they could cover up that Stephen Hawking was dead for 15 years, that's a wacky conspiracy theory. So you're just a fucking idiot. Cato the Wiser, you're just a fucking idiot. Okay. I mean, seriously, he wrote a whole paper on the Hawking conspiracy. More than one paper on it. He wasted time actually explaining why would a guy with ALS dye his hair? That was one of his arguments. Well, I don't know. I guess he just felt like having lighter hair. He thought he looked better, I guess. I mean, that's a reason to think he died and he was replaced because he dyed his hair? An amazing statement, really. Just amazing nonsense. Alright, let's see if there's anything in the spam folder. Just do a video on Bill Gates. Oh, gee, like I haven't done that. And David D. Hilster. Like I haven't done that already. Between the three of you, you guys will produce enough gas to power the USA for 10 years. Wow, that's just so interesting. Oh, it's the Woot guy. Whatever this whole Woot thing is. Oh, Michael again. Math is more like editing properties or characteristics out of first-hand experience. Well, I've already said what math is. It's a crude simplification. And it formalizes the essence of something. It takes the essence of the properties involved in a circumstance. Like, I could walk out and walk through my fence in the backyard. I could walk through the fence. The essence of the equation is going to be how much mass I have, how much velocity I have, maybe how tall I am, how much surface area my impact will be spread over. So it just takes the essence of what's important to finding out whether the fence breaks or doesn't break. And that's what math does very well. But that's all it does. It's just formalizing something we can observe, and we can know what the variables are that change the outcome. If I make myself smaller, then the outcome will be different. If I make myself bigger, the outcome will be different. Making them abstract, then performing mental transformations on them. Whatever. That's just mush. It's okay that you don't want to learn the math. Again, I don't have to learn the math. I can draw a picture of my theory, my model. I don't have to rely on mathematical nonsense. And I certainly don't believe that the universe is run based on mathematical nonsense. But they don't turn around and say that all these scientists are lying about it. I mean, this is just idiotic. I point out how they're misrepresenting the truth. That's all I can do. Now, if they misrepresent it over and over and over again, when do you call it a lie, right? I mean, especially when it's such an obvious misrepresentation. I mean, to deny the fact that single slits make complex patterns is, for a physicist not to know that, is idiotic. I mean, it's just unacceptable. To not know that there's two patterns in the double slit. To not know, what else was his claim? That there hasn't been any experiment where somebody tried to detect a photon. Never happened. Those are egregious errors. Egregious. Now, maybe they're not enough for you to call it lying, but frankly, it's enough. I think by any reasonable standard. Because it's foundational If this weren't the foundational experiments, then maybe it wouldn't matter. But these are the ones that they use to defend creation of quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics wouldn't exist without these experiments. And if they can't accurately describe what takes place in these experiments, you don't think that's important? The Young experiment revealed nothing Newton hadn't already discovered. That's just a fact. It revealed nothing. Why do we even know Young's name? Newton had already done the relevant experiment. So why don't you explain to me why Young's experiment was new and different? It added nothing to our understanding, the understanding Newton already had almost 150 years earlier. So why don't you explain it to me? You fucking cunt. Okay. The slit width is the math. You're an idiot then. Clearly, the slit width only works in the single slit. They use the impediment width in the double slit. So you don't even understand the basics of this experiment, you fucking idiot. You just don't bother to look. You're just a lying piece of shit. The Maxwell equations do have the wave equation in them. That's just absolute nonsense. Fine. No, they don't. It's an angle equation, jackass. Sine theta. Show me a wave in one of Maxwell's equations. Go ahead. Show me the wave. Show me a wave symbol in there somewhere where there's a wave in the formula. There's an angle in the formula, shit for brain. The Maxwell equations doing it's implicitly there. Where? Liar. You're so fucking stupid. And the wave equation, it's an angle equation, jackass. There's no wave in the equation, shithead. Sine theta is not a wave, idiot. Does account for the single and double slit pattern. Well, no, it obviously doesn't account for the double pattern in the double slit. And again, they have to change the variable from the opening width to the impediment width. You don't understand how that's a pretty radical change in a variable's identity? All these questions you have are answered many times over. No, obviously they're not answered. I'm clearly pointing out how you haven't answered them at all. You're just in denial. You're just lying for your religion. You just never went to a library. This doesn't have anything to do with a library. I've shown the experiment. I've shown the formula. I've shown the change in the variable. I've shown the patterns. You're just a liar, a despicable piece of shit liar. Where they have scientific journals. How does a scientific journal fix the fact that the Young experiment was completely unremarkable? And when have you explained whether it's single photons in an interferometer or different photons that are interfering? Where's your explanation, shit for brain? Or paid a premium to access them on the web. You don't have to there's no fucking papers on the two-slit experiment, shithead. There really isn't. There's nothing we don't know about the experiment, dumbass. You are a victim of that which you despise. No, I'm not. I'm a victim of assholes like you. Slandering, lying, petty pieces of scum who can't accurately quote, they can't listen to videos properly, and they're in such fucking horny denial. They have their fucking heads so far up the little nerdy asses of their little lying icons. The marketing and corporate takeover of the indexing of information. I don't know what this is, but clearly I'm the one providing real facts. You're the one defending misrepresentations of the truth. That's why you only are willing to look at evidence. Well, again, I'll look at any evidence. I'm asking you, go ahead, email me with your links. And why don't you put your real name there right next to the link so I can just demonstrate what a jackass you are, because you clearly don't understand shit. Why don't you just post a link right here? Where's your good argument? Show me a good physicist explaining the single slit or the double slit experiment. Show me. Give me the link to it done right. if it's an entertaining video on YouTube. So again, there's absolutely no evidence that I haven't searched for this quality physics that's supposed to be done somewhere. There's just no evidence of it. I'm asking you, pleading with you to please provide me links to the good physics. Provide me a link to a demonstration of Stern Gerlach. We don't have one of those on all of the internet. Nowhere. You're a sucker for the corporate greed that is Google. You're insane if you think that. So, and a liar. But a lot of this stuff you should be able to find with a simple Google search anyway. For instance, oh here we have a link to something. And what is it? Simple derivation of electromagnetic waves from Maxwell's equations. And how does this refute anything I've said? Where in here will this in any way change anything at all that I've said? Where is there any inconsistency? You're not going to look. This is the E field, the B field. This is the permeability of space. Mu 0 and epsilon 0 is probably somewhere in here too. I've already talked about all these subjects. This doesn't demonstrate that light's a wave at all. Sine theta. Again, these are thetas. These are angles, asshole. Do you understand? These aren't waves. These are angles. Angles. Do you see these? These are angles. Do you see how these are angles? They're not waves. They're angles. Oh man, you people are just so fucking stupid. I guess that was in your window. Alright, so I've already blocked him, so fuck it. You mean you will play sus guy and talk over him? So this is the one I'm that's not going to read because it just starts with a lie. Again, I didn't talk over sus guy's video. I play his video and I respond to when he makes a mistake, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't talk over him talking at all. So you just your first sentence is a lie. The whole thing is just made out of lies. You're just such despicable liars. Oh, pathetic liars. Alright, so there really hasn't been any videos to comment on. Everything's quite dull. So if anybody has any good videos by anybody who's at all interesting, that's worthy of a response, let me know. Post a link, whatever. But otherwise, there just really isn't anything going on. Nobody's making a reasonable video. I mean, a fractal woman's just doing this little, whatever, this little faggoty, swirly fractal crap. It's sort of, it's such girl physics. It's pathetic. Anyway, so yeah. So, I'll get back to doing the, of the week videos, but yeah, right now I'm a little too busy. But, eventually I'll get back to my old routine and such. So, I guess it's till the next time and such. Let's wait for this. Okay, so I guess that's all there is. So, till the next time and such.